Hello and welcome to this Gothtober Watchalong discussion. I'm here with the wonderful co-hosts, Hannah from Ladette M and Tish from Little Wolf. And if you're here, you've probably been watching the Addams Family 2019 version with us over on Twitter, or you've watched it before and you're just here to join in with the discussion. And before we get started and before the others introduce themselves and all of that jazz, just so you know, if you'd like to get points for your team for watching, just tweet or Instagram with your hashtag, either hashtag Hellhounds for the Demon Team or hashtag Heavenly Halos, so that we know that you've been watching and joined in or you're here on the discussion. So yeah, shall we introduce ourselves? Even though they'll probably know you already.
Yeah, I'm Tish from Little Wolf.
Sorry, Tish, I interrupted you.
It's okay. No, go ahead. I already said it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm Hannah from Ladette M and Lady Death for Gothtober.
Yes. And yeah, what did you two think of the film?
I thought it was cute. I like the regular, which one is it? I think it's the 1991 version or whichever the first live action one. That one is my absolute favorite. So nothing will beat that for me. But I thought it was really cute.
It was cute. It was cute. I have thoughts. I made notes. Of course, I made notes as we were watching, because I think it's really interesting. Like, if you've seen the original films and you really, like I do, really care about the original films, there were really little things that won't matter to anybody else that really irked me. So I gave it 3 stars. I would give it 3 stars. I think it's a really fun film. I think it's nice to see the Addams Family is kind of updated for a technology era. That's always fun. But I feel like, to kind of like the TLDR of my thoughts is they explain some lore that they don't explain in the original films that didn't need explaining. And they kind of asked questions and never answered them to questions I didn't have. So it's like, it's just that kind of thing. But what did you think, Olivia? Because that was you haven't seen the others, have you?
I have not. So in this discussion, I'm bringing the opinion of having only seen this one. And I would also give it 3 stars. I just thought it was a very cute, fun film. But the impression I get from it is that I'm going to like the original a lot more when I watch it, even though I know that it's probably going to be quite different. And all I really know from the original film are like memes, quotes, gifs that I've seen, and from that I already liked the characters, so I could tell that my favorite thing about this film was the characters, and I think that's just going to be brought more to the forefront in the original, even though I haven't seen it. This is just what I think.
No, I think that's true. I think that's going to be true. I would be really surprised if you were like, no, the animated version is the best. I doubt that.
I mean, I had moments that made me laugh, and I wasn't actually expecting to laugh, so I was very impressed by that.
I think one of
the funniest bit.
Sorry?
No, you go, Tish. I'll ask a sec.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think one of the things that like bothered me about this movie in particular is that, like, I don't know, I feel like the original, while there was definitely different like nuances and things to it, this one just felt like it was trying to shove certain things like out there, like the things with like the cell phone and being all the same. And I was like, from what I can remember, because it's been a little bit since I've watched the original, I just felt like they knew they were different and they were already okay with being different. So like in this one, when Wednesday kind of goes on this, I want to try something else, it was kind of weird because the reason she was always such a cool character to me and I liked her so much was because she was completely and 100% like authentic in what she already was and like who she was. And like, so her kind of venturing out was just more of kind of being curious at how other people live, not how she wanted to try that out. And so that I didn't really like that part about this one in particular, because I'm just like, this seems very not something that Wednesday would do, in my opinion. So
yeah, Wednesday and Morticia, I think, were the 2 out of the 4. I feel like they were the 2 that were furthest away from how they've been portrayed before. Yeah, because like there's a classic bit in one of the other films where Morticia goes to Wednesday's school, and the teacher is concerned because obviously them being super weird and super into torture, Wednesday has drawn some really dark images, and the teacher is just like really sus about this. And Morticia basically says, oh, Wednesday's at that very difficult age where she only has one thing on her mind. And the teacher's like, boys, because obviously standard teenage
murder.
Yeah, and like Wednesday just deadpans homicide, and it's so perfect. And I think for me, the difference between that Morticia and Wednesday and the one we saw in the animated film today is Wednesday is still like expressing herself, but she's not exploring anything, right? Like in both of the other films, she knows damn well who she is, and it's your problem if you don't accept that. And Morticia is happy for her to explore whoever she is, what kind of murderous intent, you know. Yes, she tells her to stop like messing with her brother, but it's not because it's like, oh, you need to like unbury him or anything like that. It's more just like, if you're going to do it properly kind of thing, which I think is like really funny. The Morticia in this one has social anxiety, and I don't know how I feel, like I don't know how I feel about that. Like that was one of the things where like a lot of the notes I've made is about Morticia's social anxiety, because she's the first one to say let's not live around people. In the original film, she's the most social. Like she welcomes people into her home. She won't necessarily make them feel welcome. Like they'll be terrified to be there, but like there's a running gag that she's got like these really nosy neighbors, and she just like welcomes them in, and like it's totally normal for her to offer you a, you know, dismembered head for lunch or whatever. Like it's all this kind of stuff. She's not an anxious person at all. So I found that really jarring. And
I feel like I understand what both of you are saying, but I also didn't take those perspectives, because going on what Tish was saying about Wednesday, I felt like she wasn't uncomfortable with who she was. She still was herself. Like she still stuck up to the bullies in her own way. But I felt like she just wanted to see what everything else was like. And she was more so provoking her mother by doing those things rather than feeling comfortable in herself in doing those things. That's how I saw it in this film. And then with Morticia, I felt like she was welcoming of everyone who she already knew, but was not welcoming of the people from Assimilation. She was like very suspicious of all of these like fancy people with pink. But when it came to, I've already forgotten what that special sword fight thing is called.
Oh, the Mazurka.
The Masaka, and people were coming in, she was like welcoming them in, and she was like perfectly happy to have them there. So I just assumed it was more so like, I don't trust these happy people, but I'm fine with these people that I know. And I guess that is what social anxiety can form itself as, but I didn't see it as she doesn't want to be around anyone, more so she just didn't want to be around trouble. Like all these people that didn't like her.
The thing is, like, she's the one that says, like, let's live in the middle of nowhere. It's clear that she's, like, irritated that people keep turning up. And, like, there's a scene where Gomez has, like, dropped her in it with his mum. Now, OG Gomez would never. But also, in the original, film, the mother is already living with them. The mother is already part of their life. It's not a surprise that she's there. And it's not played off as, like, oh, the mother-in-law's here to like help because she doesn't think I can do it, and my husband, who is devoted to me in every other version of our lives, is also like thinks I can't cope. But this is what I'm saying, is like, this is why I think I found it so jarring, is because she's she's really welcoming to her family and to people that she knows, and then at the end when they like come around, like she's obviously welcoming then. But the and I'm just going to keep referring to her as the original Morticia. In the original films, she's welcoming to everybody. Like, she's welcoming to everybody. They have a conversation with these really stuck-up, preppy people in Addams Family reunions. And she's just like, she's so pleasant to them. She doesn't like, she's never rude to anybody. She's not dismissive of anyone. And not that she's those things in this either. But I feel like she's far more defensive in this animated version than she is in the original films. And I think I just found that really bizarre, because growing up, Morticia Addams was one of the few women that I watched in films that just was so put together. And so like, and not because the things in her life were going smoothly, but just because it didn't matter. Like, she was just such a complete nihilist that it was so effortless to watch. Like, she was so confident in herself that I guess I just found that a bit bizarre. I loved her getting ready first, that first scene of her getting ready.
Oh, me too.
That was epic. Loved that.
I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. Tish?
Oh, sorry. But like, I think because to me, it feels like this version was marketed more as like I don't want to say like a kid's film, but I think the way that they're doing things in this is marketed more towards like a younger audience, because in the original, there are quite a few things that Wednesday and Pugsley do to each other that I don't think parents would like their kids watching. So I think the original was definitely made for, I guess, more of like an intermixed audience. Like more adults are probably watching it, or like older people. And so I can definitely see why the changes they made in the animation make sense to the animation, because it's for probably like a little bit different group than the OG. And I think that's why they chose to do what they did with Wednesday. Back to what you were saying, Olivia, about how she knows who she is, but she's kind of wanting to see. That's a really great message to, you know, give to kids about like, hey, you can know who you are, but it's perfectly normal to want to try different things and figure out whether or not you like those or not. And I thought that was cool, especially because her friend got to be like super goth. And
I love that.
And yeah, like not all pink like her mom wanted her to be. And so I thought that was really cool. I like the addition to that friend being like really in awe of Wednesday instead of being like terrified of her, and that she actually had like a really cool friendship with her.
I was going to say, I feel like I've just chosen to defend this film, even though I'm just doing the Heavenly Healer thing, even though I rated it 3 stars as well. But I was going to say that I think also what you said about marketing towards a young audience makes sense, but also when you were talking about how like the mother-in-law is kind of in a different situation here, I feel like they're also marketing, as you can see with the phones and such, to the present day audience a lot more. The whole like idea of, you know, well, 1991 was not that long ago realistically, but I feel like back then it's more accepted.
So old.
Yeah, my birthday is in
I was
Feb,
like, I was born in 1992,
and I was like, I don't want to think about the fact that film is nearly 30 years old.
Don't worry. It's not that old. It's not that old. But I was going to say that I feel like then it would be more standard and accepted in certain cultures where it's not as standard as accepted now, for like the mother-in-law to live with them. Whereas now it's more like the mother-in-law would come to visit and stereotypically mess everything up that you've got organized and such. So I feel like they're leaning into some of the contemporary stereotypes of characters more.
Do you think then in 10 years time when they do another one, or maybe they'll leave it 30 years, who knows, where the trend is 30-year-olds still living with their parents because we're in such an economic crisis that we can't afford to buy our own places, that it will be Wednesday and Pugsley in their 30s still living with their parents? Because not gonna lie, I would watch that, but it would be traumatizing.
I believe that can happen.
They're making another one.
Are they already?
They are.
Yes. Yes. Wow. I cannot remember who they casted for. Some of the characters are already casted because people were having like a whole day with who they casted as Gomez. Like they were throwing us, because originally everybody wanted like Oscar Isaac to play him, which he plays him in this movie. But yeah, so apparently they're making one already.
Oh, so they've got loads of the. Oh, that's Addams Family too. I was going to say for a second then I was like, oh my god, they've got the same cast as last time. No, that's the wrong cast. I'm looking at the wrong cast.
Is this going to be another animated or a live action?
Yeah. Hold on.
Oh, maybe it is.
Okay, it's like I'm sorry, it's not a remake. My bad. It's a spin-off.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, is this where they go on holiday? The
It's
Addams
about
get
Wednesday.
in more wacky adventures and find themselves involved in hilarious run-ins of with all kinds of unsuspecting characters. Is
this one coming out this year? Susie's asking if it's this year.
I don't know. Yeah, possibly. So, it says 2021. But it doesn't specify when. The sequel to the 2019 one. I'm trying to find like the cast because it says like top cast. It does have Oscar Isaac, so Charlize Theron playing Morticia. Yeah, so you've got Oscar Isaac playing Gomez, Charlize Theron playing Morticia, Chloe Grace Moretz playing Wednesday.
Oh, it's already out apparently.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. So Nick Kroll playing Uncle Fester, that's fair. I think Snoop Dogg playing It was completely wasted. Like, if you're going to have Snoop Dogg playing Fester, give him some actual words to say. Come on.
The best thing about Snoop Dogg was his entrance, which is a song that exists in real life. I mean, that was so wasted. I can't even believe it.
When he rocked up and didn't say, like, it was just like, because this is the thing, right? The whole point is that only the Addams family understand cousin It. And the fact that he, like, in the original films, he has a relationship with a normal woman who can also understand him. The audience never understands him. So the fact that Fester then, like, translates for him was complete, like, fan service, and I didn't enjoy that. But if you're gonna put Snoop in, Snoop should have been Lurch. Snoop should have been Lurch.
I also want to say that, not knowing anything about this, when it said It, I mean Snoop Dogg as It, and then at one point there was a red balloon, I was like, is he coming in as Pennywise?
Yeah, we're not talking It as in a monster clown, which I did really enjoy that reference. I really enjoyed the fact that she was like, this balloon makes me happy. Like, that was so creepy. I loved that. And I love the idea that she's scarier than a monster that eats children. Like, again, I thought that was great. Like, little moments like that I thought were genius. And also, like, when Morticia's like, if you're going to lurk, come on, don't pick on your dad. He's an easy target. And then all of a sudden she's just like, oh, but much better. I loved that. I love that, because that's what the Addams Family is all about. It's a really weird family, but they love and support each other, and they're probably the only family that's not broken. Like, they're so perfect, and I love them. I also really, really enjoyed Do Your Worst when Gomez drops her off at school. I just thought that was perfect. Do your worst.
Yeah, there was some
part
nice
where
lines.
Pugsley is crawling on the wall, and she's like, "Oh, Pugsley's been crawling on the wall," and then he's just like,
and his face
eyes. I was cracking up.
That was great. Yeah, that was the thing I was going to ask earlier. Is which bit for you was the funniest? Because the first time I laughed was, I can see my house from here. Oh wait, no, that's a women's prison. I really like stupid shit like that. I really enjoyed.
That and the coconut. You put the lime in the coconut. And then you drink it. I knew as soon as he said it, I was like, finish the wine.
I loved it.
I think the time that I laughed out loud just happened to be the vampiric bat coming and like drinking her blood after she blushed. I don't know why that cracked me up so much, but it really did.
It was so subtle, wasn't it? Because she's just like, and then it just like flutters down. Like, it was really clever, because it's like, I love cinema when they do something without any dialogue at all, right? Like, and those little moments of no dialogue, especially in an animated kids film, because it can't last very long before you lose their interest. So it has to be like really clever. However, sometimes it's done in a really creepy way. Did anyone else notice that the Thing was looking at feet pics?
Yeah, I did notice that. I was like, did you read that?
Why was that a thing? Why was that a thing?
I was laughing so hard though. It was like
so
he slams it shut like right after that.
It's one of those things that you watch as a child and you're like, and then if you're an adult, you're just like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, another part that made me laugh, and I had to rewind it to see it twice, was whenever Pugsley is like practicing and it goes wrong and the thing shuts on Lurch's fingers, and then just the one solo tear comes down and he's just like...
Lurch is a precious baby. He reads Little Women. Did you see that? Did you see
I saw that. I was like,
Little Women?
Look at our literary king.
I really like that character, actually. not just because he looked like Frankenstein.
Yeah. He is. He's an unsung hero. He's one of my favorites from like the originals, but also in like any kind of like smaller adaptation that's got like a lurch in it. I always find those characters really like he's just really wholesome.
Yes.
I also thought it was really funny, like the way he's constantly trying to say "you rang," but he never actually. I don't think he ever actually finished saying it. I think he gets interrupted every single time, which I was like, it's such a dumb joke, but I really like that. I loved that. I loved that.
Oh, I also love the Sentient House.
Sentient House, yeah.
Where he was just like, get out every single time.
How does one discover that your sentient house requires coffee first thing in the morning being flushed down the toilet? How do you work that out? What other ways do you try before you try flushing coffee down the toilet to sate your house?
Honestly, coffee would be my first choice. I know how I wake up in the morning and how much better I feel after my first cup. And I'd be like, you know what, let's give it a go. And then we'll work from there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I understand going straight for caffeine, right?
Yeah.
I think I would try a fireplace first. But then I guess it has like the humorous factor of a toilet noise if you're throwing it down the toilet. But I really enjoyed when like the window comes down and she's like, you'll have to try harder. I'm just like, yes.
Yes. Yeah, I like that a lot. I also like the tree. Ichabod.
Ichabod.
Yeah.
And like I love the way he had
that
a
so
walk at the
bad.
end. He was cute.
I love their names for everything.
Yeah. Socrates the octopus and Ichabod
So
the tree. I also really enjoyed that the tree works really hard for Wednesday, but doesn't give Pugsley the time of day. I really enjoy that. Like, it's again such a little thing, but it's amusing. But, yeah. So other things I've written down is poking fun at New Jersey. I've never been to New Jersey. Is it really that bad?
I've never been either.
Never been.
No. I mean, I got that it was funny. I got that it was like, we'll go to the worst place ever, and then it's like
New Jersey.
I felt too British to fully appreciate.
Yeah, I feel like if it was set in the UK, it would be like, we'll have to go to the worst place ever, and then it would cut to like Swindon or Milton Keynes, and it'd just be like, oh, do you know what I mean? I feel like that would be the British equivalent.
I actually thought it would have been more like a southern state.
Another state?
Yeah, like a country kind of state. Like that would have been my first guess, because like there's not I mean, as someone who grew up in the country, there's literally nothing to do besides drink.
I always hear bad things about people in Florida for some reason.
I was thinking it should have been Florida, especially because there's such Florida, like a sunny disposition as well. That would be really funny to watch the Addams be like, oh no.
Yes. Florida's like their own world. The amount of like news headlines that I've read, and I'm like, there's no way this is an actual news headline. And it is. And I'm just like, okay, never going to Florida. I don't want to be there. I don't think I want to be there. That's a different kind of crazy.
Did either of you ever watch SourceFed, the YouTube news channel? It was like a commentary, like an American commentary one. But they did a game where they would collate a bunch of headlines that would start Florida man or Florida woman, and then just the wildest stuff. And it was kind of like Two Truths or a Lie, where you had to guess which of the three statements wasn't true. But it would be like, Florida man tried to marry a bear and ended up losing a foot, and that would be the true one.
Yep.
And the one where it's Florida man gets stuck in a lift is the fake one, because it's just not wild enough. Like, and I loved it.
Like the completely normal one is fake.
Yeah. So yeah, Florida man. Crazy.
They probably would have fit in too much in Florida. That's why they can't have it in Florida.
That's true.
People would see them and be like, that's the most normal thing we've seen. So yeah, welcome.
Welcome. Yeah, you'll fit right in. That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, maybe it couldn't be Florida. Also, I love their little like moment when they hit that guy with their car, That's never addressed. The man is just left in the middle of the road, right? Not only that, he's escaped an abandoned asylum.
I thought that was Lurch.
It's Lurch.
Oh, is that Lurch, the one that they hit?
Yeah.
I missed that. I don't know how I missed that, but I was just like, but this is abandoned. Why is he running away from an abandoned? I was too busy thinking about it. That's what was happening.
Too caught up there.
Mm.
I also wanted to raise the ending because I did not like the ending.
Let's discuss. What didn't you like about it?
I didn't like anything. I don't know. I felt like it was all very anticlimactic. Like it didn't go anywhere. The whole house situation with that evil lady, I was like, that's just not satisfying. This is not a satisfying ending.
No.
And yes, like Wednesday came back, and I think the cutest thing was the father-son moment with the, you know, him doing it his own way, and that was accepted. I was like, okay, that's a nice storyline ending. But Wednesday ending with the mom, like, no, I didn't care. And the house thing, I was like, this is a rubbish ending.
Yeah, that was a bit. Yeah, it's anticlimactic, isn't it? Because this is the thing, she's like an evil blonde lady. I love that I was like, oh, she's definitely the villain. And then, yeah, she was. Of course she was. Because anytime there's a blonde lady in an Addams Family film, she's definitely the villain. And also her hair was huge. So you just knew. You just knew she was
her hair.
Great hair. Lots of it. But, yeah, and the whole thing with, like, her and Festa, I felt like I wanted her to be more grossed out by him. I wanted the ending to be more dramatic. I mean, to be fair, they do get their house bombed. Like, they're like, there's a lot of them. But just the fact that the people are like fully like torch and pitchforks, and then they're like, oh, they're just a family. Oh, how cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like,
and like they weren't immediately outraged. Yeah. And then they weren't like immediately outraged as they were being watched for like years. Like privately, I would be so upset. Like, excuse me? Give her to me. I will show her what it's like. Like everyone was just like, oh, yeah, I do put my underwear in the freezer. Now everybody knows. Okay, cool. Like, no.
I liked it. It was just one man that went during my private time. And I'm like, the implications there.
I mean, she mentioned on the toilet. She mentioned watching someone on the toilet. And nothing. I was just like,
but no,
it was funny. Yeah, it was funny though when she was like, "Where else am I supposed to put my arms?" Because she uses them backwards.
Just like I just rest.
I was like, you know what? She kind of has a point. A little bit. She kind of does have a point.
I love that both of the people in that couple had rubber gloves on the entire time.
Yeah.
Why? That's never explored.
Probably because they were going to kill people. They're like, we're going to kill these monsters and we got to dispose. So I'm going to wear gloves.
Yeah. We're the cleanup crew. We're here to make sure none of this is left behind. Don't want those. Don't want any evidence. Yeah. But it's bizarre because as a takeaway, like there are loads of those great moments, right? Like we generally enjoyed it. It was a fun film. But it's just the fact that ending, you're just like, oh, cool.
I think
it was like
when I think I tweeted, didn't expect this romantic couple, and you're like, I did. And I think I didn't because I didn't see them actually working. Like actually, she seemed content with her life. I was like, what? This is your nightmare, kind of like. It was such a strange thing.
I did because it's a hark back to an original film, like one of the other Addams Family films. I was like, so I was like, there was a couple of things that I was like, okay, that's almost a straight rip from for the original films. Other things, I was like, that's not a straight rip, and I don't know how I feel about it. And to be fair, this is the same problem I had with the Star Wars films. Just to talk about a completely different franchise for 5 minutes.
Are you sure you want to talk about those films? Are you sure?
I know. I'm opening a whole can of worms here. But like some of the stuff about the films, I'm like, I love that you've given that to me as a like part of fan service. I love that. I love that that's a throwback to this. And then other times I'm like, okay, we're done throwing back now. We've thrown back enough. Let's move forwards now. And I felt like like that, where they get together at the end, I'm like, that didn't need to happen. That's just because you want to tie everything up in a nice little bow, and you've got two adults of marrying age that appear to be single. You know,
stick them together.
Yeah.
It was just too happy for me, which like it was like, that sounds bad, but I mean, like, it's like they went for happy ending versus satisfying ending, because it would have gone a different way for me to feel satisfied. Like, had the whole town like just ganged up on the one girl, that would have even been more satisfying. If they would have just turned the tables on her and like ran her out of town and then just made the town how they wanted to, I would have appreciated that more. But it was a little too like, all these pieces fit so well, and I was like, no, I don't like that. It's too perfect.
No, it needed to be more ambiguous. It needed to be like they got her and then she was never seen again, but it's never explained where she is. Like, and then have some really like horrific moment where you might see her locked somewhere or trapped somewhere, or like with the lion. Why was there a lion? Not that I didn't enjoy the lion, but why was there a lion? I don't understand. The whole point is that they're all dead things. So why would you keep a live lion? I don't understand. Having said that, I really enjoyed the reference to "and here's our void in the floor." Like, I really enjoyed that for absolutely no reason. You enjoyed the vintage wines in one of the pictures of the vintage wines. I did enjoy that as well. That was quite funny.
I love things like that. Things that are just a bit smart and fitting.
Yeah, puns. Lots of puns.
Yeah. Also, at the end, I was like, speaking of happy endings, when they were fixing the house and it was half pink and half black, I was like, no thanks. I was very happy when the house like transformed itself back into its gothicness. I was like, oh, phew.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, and that was bizarre because they were still gothing it up, because like they put the new window in, and then Morticia comes along and like breaks it, and it's all a good time. That would have been funnier to me if they put a mirror up and Morticia had like broken a mirror, because like the superstition of it and stuff. I'd have just enjoyed that in the same way that I really enjoyed that Lurch was just adding dust to stuff when they first moved it. You need to dust it, and then just like making it a mess. Love that.
That was funny.
Who is your favorite character in general?
Probably Lurch.
Lurch was
honestly
great.
He was just his little small moments where, like, whenever Pugsley and Gomez are first fighting, and then he dumps it in the watering pot and he waters it, and then it just explodes. Like little moments like that. I was like, I appreciate this man so much.
It's when the spray
and like
paint
his room being a padded room.
Yeah,
across him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was great. He was great. I agree. I think him and Mitch just like stuck in the wall. It's such a hit part, but I really just enjoyed. Hey guys, like at the end, that was great.
I mean, his friends were horrible, but also I don't blame them. Like, Mitch, who? Let's go.
Yeah. Sorry, Mitch is dead to me now. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to survive, you know.
This is true.
I think Lurch was probably my favorite too. I do like mostly, he wasn't completely silent, but I really tend to like silent characters where it's all about, as you said, the action speaking louder than words, Hannah. That again just fed into it. But I did really like Wednesday and Morticia, and I know I'm going to love them the most when I watch the original, but also I've seen enough iconic quotes from the original round that I'm very biased towards loving them from what I've seen, even though I haven't seen the film.
Yeah. No, they'll be great. They'll be great. I think it was just getting out of my own way to enjoy it was really hard, because I obviously wanted those moments of nostalgia where it feels like the same characters, and they just didn't feel like the same characters. And even Gomez, I found him really jarring as well, but I guess I'm not as disappointed because men are always ready to let you down, you know. So but I think I found that hardest because, like, in the original films, he is devoted to Morticia. She could have been like, let's burn the whole city down, and he'd be like, cool. Whereas in this one, he's constantly like, no, be nice, try it. She's just here to help. And I'm like, the original Gomez would never. And when like he couldn't find the ring in their wedding, I was like, would never. That would never happen in the other. Like, don't believe it for a second. So
I think he was devoted for all of 3 minutes, like post ring, before the intro, that gap where he was like, we'll go wherever you want to go, we'll do whatever we want to do, I can't stop kissing your hand. That was his moments of devotion.
Yeah. Your hand feels like a wet fish. It is a wet fish. If they just put it in his pocket, he was like, oh yeah. I really enjoyed that. That was just silly, but he would know the difference. Anyway.
But yeah. I'm just, when you said about like you wanting it to be as good as the original and understanding it's going to be different, but it doesn't quite hit the same, made me think of the Lion King live action. So I've just been like imagining it that way, and I think valid opinions.
Yeah, I think it is hard because, like, especially when you watch something as a kid, you put so much stock into it because even if it's not good, you remember it as good, and just that nostalgia will give you the dopamine you need to get through another day. So I think when you have like a new version of it, I'm not the target audience for this film. Like, I'm not. I don't need a film to be full of cell phones to know that it's a modern day film.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it not a good film. Like, that's why I'm like thinking it's a 3 stars as opposed to like a 2. It's not a bad film. It ticks all the boxes it needs to tick. It was a really fun hour and a half. I got to sit and eat my Chinese and tweet about it and had a great time. Will I watch it again? Probably not. Don't need to. Yeah. That's fine. I probably will go and watch the other 2 though.
I might not watch this next 2. I feel like it was perfectly fine as just one run-of-the-mill enjoyable film. I don't really need more. I just need the original. That's all I know.
Yeah. That's what I mean by the other 2. I mean, I'm going to watch the originals.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, I'm going to watch 2 and whichever spin-off they've made. Okay, no.
I felt the same way about this just because it's a remake. I recently just watched Halloween Kills. And I'm a huge Michael Myers fan. Like, the first Halloween is just, people call it corny because obviously the time period, and it is, but it's so good. But like where the story has gone, it feels more like a cash grab at this point now. And so that's what I kind of feel like for all of these remakes. And I think that's why they're always like missing something, because the originals were made like, hey, we're going to make this funky, crazy movie. If you like it, you like it. And now it's like, oh, well, it had so much success before. Let's do it again, make it a little different for this generation. And then we'll, pretty much like milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah.
And that's just like my problem with remakes in general. I mean, like, because this was enjoyable, and like this is obviously not one of those where I feel like they did that really bad, but like they just keep remaking things. Like, it's kind of excited. Like, I'm excited to see the Scream that they're coming out with again, but it's literally just Scream with a younger cast and then the older cast coming back to make cameos. And I'm like, why do we keep doing this?
Yeah.
Why
I was going to say, they did that in 4. That's what 4 was. 4 was a younger cast. You had a much younger main character, and Sydney, who was in her, late 30s, early 40s when that was filmed?
Yeah.
Was a bit part. She was an author who got caught up in it, but the whole point, it wasn't about her. None of that story was about her. She just put the pieces together. So this one, she couldn't be more detached from the original story. So yeah, no, I have a real thing about it as well. And I'm like, if you're going to, I have this thing with any sequels though, and I think it's why I struggle with, like, bringing it back to BookTube, why I struggle with like really long series is because each book, each sequel needs to extend the universe as you already know it. It needs to abide by its previous set rules and extend upon them. And if you're going to manipulate them, it has to feel justified. And I think the problem with a lot of films is they have their checklist of things they have to put in to make sure it makes lots of money. A big cast, a big explosion, an easy plot to understand, like all these different beats. And then they have this basic structure that they've, like, the skeleton of the film that worked really well. And then they just kind of Frankenstein monster it together and go, this is going to make loads of money. And I think I find that so frustrating because it's not like they couldn't make incredible blockbusters that have nothing to do with any other franchises. Like, that's fine. You can start a new franchise, call it a 4 films, and then start another one. It could even be similar to that original one if you wanted it to be. But they don't, because they're like, well, this has already made money, so let's do it again. Which, you know.
I feel like it's making me think about Fast and Furious, because as we go into Fast and Furious, they get more ridiculous. But I guess what they're doing that is good is what you said. They've separated out Hobbs and Shaw. So maybe that's not everybody's cup of tea, but if you're looking for that element of the Fast and Furious, you can go to Hobbs and Shaw. Not that it's put the later Fast and Furious back on track, but they're trying. They like at least making that effort. And what you said about book series, I relate. I don't think I read long enough series anymore to feel it goes that way over a long course of series, but lately I've been trying a lot of sequel series that are, you know how authors are extending their books in different series, but it's not quite connected, but it basically is, and it just never works because they are making something new and they kind of undo rules that they've already set in the first one, and it does my head in. It makes me so frustrated, and I can't stand it.
I blame
there's so many plot holes
for that. Fully. Sorry, Tish, what did you say? I was just being mean. So.
Oh, I said there's just so many plot holes because, like, back to the Halloween thing, I watched like the director's cut, and he was like, "Oh, well," because it's been alluded now that he's like a supernatural being. Like, a lot of people speculate whether he's even still a person, like a real person, like he's got to be a demon or something, because he's been like stabbed, shot, run over, lit on fire, like the whole, like he should be dead, right? And the director was like, well, he's not supernatural, but he does miraculous things. And I'm like, no, you cannot be miraculous and survive having your neck broken, having a pitchfork stabbed through your back, being set on fire. That's supernatural. No, I don't care how miraculous you are. There's no way. And I'm like, so where are we going? What's
so
happening?
where are you taking it? And the thing is, like, that ambiguous answer means that they can go in 2 ways, right? The next director could make him a demon. The director after that could make him a man. Like, it doesn't matter. There's no commitment to it. The thing is that, like, I grew up with this guy who had a nerve ending deficiency. So he couldn't really feel pain. Like, he had sensation in his fingers and stuff like that. But, like, his pain receptors would just rubbish. So he once, we've got, like, where I live, obviously right on the coast, we've got like a long pier that has like a harbour arm bit. He jumped off the edge of that onto rocks beneath the water and shattered both of his legs. But because he couldn't feel the pain, like, he shattered his shins basically, because he couldn't feel the pain, he walked home. Like, so it is possible for people to do these like extreme things, and adrenaline can play a massive part on those things. And if you're going to be like, okay, no, he is a man, and that is what's so goddamn terrifying about him, is that he is a, you know, a human being, and human beings are capable of this. That is way more terrifying to me than, oh, he might be a demon, right? And if you're going to do that, you have to keep it ambiguous or make it the science, right? And I just think sometimes the cash grab element comes from the fact, if we commit to one thing too much, we have to backtrack, which is exactly what Star Wars did. So just to bring it back to Star Wars again. It's like, here's some law that we've made up. We're going to fix that because that's actually too ambiguous. Let's bring it back to this. So yeah, I think it's really hard. But I think also I'm also a massively picky bitch. So I think that selling anything to me is going to be tricky.
Yeah, especially when I like it so much, because this franchise is huge. And like the movie that came out last year and this year takes place after the first one. So all the movies they've made in between the first one and this one, basically they said, forget those. They never happened. Here's the new set. So now instead of it being into 8 movie series, it's a trilogy now, because they're making another one next year. And I'm just like, but then they'll pay like small homages to the movies in between. And I'm like, how can you say these stories don't matter in this universe, but here's a little Easter egg also? I'm just like, okay, y'all are losing me. Y'all are losing me.
Yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it.
Exactly. Like, man.
Do you wanna hear a funny story about Scream? It's along the lines of Olivia Spanner has watched no films ever. Everybody's like, "Oh, have you watched this?" So for ages, everybody was like, "Oh, have you watched Scream?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course," because this guy I used to know when I was in primary school showed me this thing, which I fully thought was the film Scream. It was a parody. It was a parody, and so. I've been like judging everybody who likes Scream like that was the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen in my life. I have not seen Scream.
So you
And
tell
when
me
I
you've
was
seen
like-
Scary Movie? You've seen Scary
I
Movie?
think I've seen Scary Movie, like when it's like "What's up" and all that.
Mhm.
Oh
Is that-
my
is that
god,
the one
that
where,
is
like,
great.
That's the one where they're like on the phone shouting like "What's up?" and it's like
Yeah,
take my
I
strong
was corrected
hand.
last year. Last year,
Take my strong hand.
I
Those
was
those
10 or
movies.
something.
I genuinely don't know how any of those producers and directors have made any money because they did parodies of everything, right? Because they did like Not Another Teen Movie, and they did the vampire one, the superhero one, Not Another Dating Movie, like all
It's
those
because
different ones.
they're so stupid, they're funny. And
Yeah,
that's what
but
it
they're
is.
like
It's just
really problematic as well.
yeah, they would not, like, if they played those now, like, if they would not hold up. Because we
No.
just, like, rewatched those a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much in here that should not be in here.
Yeah,
It's some of that stuff is really messed up, and like there's things because obviously I was watching like a TikTok, of course I was, where they were looking at She's All That, the original, the TV series that's just come out, and the Not Another Teen Movie adaptation of how when they're first picking who they're going to like do a makeover for, how it's done. And like it's so clever because like as awful as those films are, they are so aware of the toxic projections in standard films. And you've got Chris Evans, who has obviously gone on to be Captain America, being like, "Oh, not her. She's got paint on her overalls. Like, that's the worst thing. She wears glasses." Like, yeah. And it's just like, she's a stunning girl, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with her. But he's like, "Oh, God, no." It's just, it's so great. But yeah, no, and like I think that's the things I really like a parody, but I think I find it easier to forgive a parody than I do, see you later, do a sequel, which is probably not how it should work. It's my brother going for a walk, just so you know.
but yeah,
You should definitely watch the real Scream, Olivia.
Yeah, I should. I'll get on that.
It'll make way more sense why people are like, "Oh, I really enjoy that movie."
Yeah, I've got it on my list. I've got a long list of horror films to watch, and I was so ready to, October to come along and for me to watch them all. Yeah, no, I've watched half of Annihilation, half, and I have not had time to finish it.
Oh no! I'll tell you what. Next year during Gothtober, we'll hang out and we'll watch this. We'll do it in a weekend.
I don't watch anything unless there's someone watching it with me. That's the problem. You've got to like watch with me, otherwise I never
that's fine.
watch
I will
anything.
chaperone you whilst you watch. That's fine. I can do that. I will try really hard not to quote the whole thing in the same way that I tried really hard not to quote all of Austenland to you. No guarantees there either. I don't know that I can. And I also promise that I will try not to answer your questions as well.
There will be many. I don't want spoilers, but I still at the time
you're compelled to ask
1,000 questions.
Yeah,
that's normal. I think that's normal. But then it's on me to not answer, and that's where the hard part comes in. Because I can't keep a secret to save my life. I was talking, who were they talking to? Someone the other day. And obviously doing the Skullduggery read along, I'm on like book 10 now. And someone was like, "Oh, is Skullduggery really good?" And I had to like physically bite my tongue and be like, "Well, in the first 3 books, this happens, and then this happens, and then this gets wild." And I'm like, please just read it. Just trust me and read it. Good times.
It's hard. Hello, thank you for joining.
Oh, so we've got Snog Marry Kill Villains edition tomorrow. That's going to be fun. I'm excited for that.
I'm excited to see who it is. I need to tweet my villains because I was obviously thinking of Michael Myers. I haven't stopped thinking about that movie because it was so disappointing. But that's one of my villains. Then you come up with two other ones.
Yeah, Michael Myers needs to be on the list for sure. I really enjoyed, I don't know if anyone else saw, I think Tish saw Ali's comment of like, oh, I can't remember the names of any villains ever now that you've asked me. I was like, oh, that's such a mood. Like when someone's like, oh, name someone, like, you know, when you play, this is why I wanted us to have a list, by the way, because I'm really bad for doing it. If you like rock up and go, oh, name a character who has been in like a franchise that has elves in it, and you go, elves? I got nothing. It's like Lord of the Rings, Cruel Prince, Avatar, and I'm like, don't know what you're talking about.
You're suddenly like, I've never read about or watched elves. What is that?
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I'm also tempted. Tish, let me know if you want me to do this because I absolutely will. I'm so tempted to do a slideshow of all the villains that have been like selected by people from Twitter and Instagram, so that we actually know who some of these people are, because I'm like, oh, I had to like Google who that villain is.
Yeah, I was just, when you guys were talking, I was like, how many, because I never know anything. I was like, how many people am I gonna know? Especially when you name someone, because I apparently can't even understand the names in the films that I'm watching, because I don't know how I got Foxley or Boxley, but I was like, why do they keep calling it? Is it Foxley? Is it Boxley? And then Hannah was like, it's Pugsley. And I was like, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, they just kept saying Zlee. And I was like, there's more syllables than that.
Yeah.
I think Morticia was the one who pronounced it right, but Gomez, I was like, what are you saying? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know what accent he was going for, to be honest. It was interesting.
It was like there, and then sometimes it like wasn't there. So I was like, Oscar, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Has anyone checked on Oscar? Is Oscar okay?
But yeah, I don't have any more film discussion thoughts. Shall we end there?
Let's, because otherwise I'll start ranting about Star Wars again.
And I will start ranting about Halloween because I'm ready to box.
Can't wait.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We should do another watch along.
Yes, I'd be so up for that. I
just hope that whatever we plan on doesn't disappear from the catalogue the day of.
I know. How ridiculous is that? Like, it's been, and this is the thing, is like, my anxiety's been like, checked, make sure it's still there, like so many times this month. And I've checked it, and there it is, and it's ready to go, and I saved it in my list. And then you this morning being like, and I was like, no, unacceptable.
No, don't tell me that.
Who takes that off of Netflix about a week before the end of October? This is like the worst time to take off of Netflix ever.
I just couldn't understand. And it's not like, because like the other Tim Burtons are on Disney Plus. So I was like, well, maybe they've sold it to Disney Plus. But it's not on there either.
They've just taken it away from us. They were like, Gothtober? No, you can't have that.
Can't have that.
It's like one of the most popular ones too. That's why whenever she said it got taken off, I was like, really? Everybody loves Corpse Bride. I had it on DVD, so I was prepared either way. So.
Yeah. And the music's great too. I was disappointed. That was the one thing I was kind of disappointed with the Addams Family, is there were no real bops, you know? There was obviously Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
so the only one. Christina Aguilera at the beginning.
And Christina Aguilera. So you have two bops. But in Corpse Bride, they're all bops, you know?
Every single one.
Every single one. Hey, Lizzie. Oh, yeah, Corpse Bride sadness. So Lizzie was actually thrilled. I'm going to properly like throw Lizzie under the bus now. Lizzie was thrilled that Corpse Bride wasn't available because Lizzie had the option of either watching Corpse Bride with us or watching someone else's reading sprints for Patreon. And she didn't want to have to choose. So Corpse Bride not being available, she didn't have to choose. She went and finished their book.
Yeah. So basically this energy is because Lizzie was in emotional turmoil.
Yeah. Basically.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow over on Tish's channel. Bye.